On today's episode of The Hero's Blueprint, we've got an absolute powerhouse joining us. He's built and scaled multiple companies from the ground up, including two he took public and sold to giants like Coca-Cola and Kimberly-Clark. What makes his story unforgettable isn't just the business wins, it's the way he approached every crisis, every setback, and every you should quit moment with a mindset of resilience, creativity, and growth. He's the co-author of Turning Crisis into Success and author of Inner Peace and Happiness. Two books that dive deep into how success isn't just about what you build on the outside, but who you become on the inside. He's also a mentor, poet, philanthropist, co-owner of the Phoenix Suns, and someone who's mastered the art of building a life that's full, not just of achievement, but of meaning and connection. Today we're diving into his blueprint, not just how he built businesses, but how he built himself, and how you, listening today, can start applying those same principles in your own life, no matter where you're starting from. Let's welcome to the Hero's Blueprint, the one and only Richard Jaffe. How you doing, Richard?
Very good, Joe. Thank you for having me on.
Yeah, of course, man. Thank you so much for joining again. And there's a lot of cool stuff that we're going to dive into today. I'm really excited. So I want to dive in really deep. You ready for me?
I'm ready.
All right. Richard, in today's age, so many people feel like they're living in a constant crisis, whether it's confusion, burnout, failed business, or not knowing what they want out of life. What's one thing that helped you get through your hardest moments of crisis?
Well, crisis is inevitable. Okay, we're all going to go through it for the rest of our lives, whether it's business, whether it's family, whether it's health, whether it's a relationship. So the real key that comes up is it going to catapult you ahead or is it going to hold you back? So how do we befriend crisis? So when it comes, we know how to react. That's kind of really, let's not get surprised and say, woe's me. Okay, let's say, one of the most important things in any crisis, in all of life, is to accept the things we can't change. When we start thinking about all the things we can't change, we waste that time. So that's the first thing in crisis. And it's not about crisis that determines our life. It's how we respond to the misfortunes that befall us. They're going to. I believe bad things happen to me because there are lessons to learn. They keep happening until I learn that lesson. When I learn that stops and other bad things happen. So life is just a series of lessons going on. But I think things that people can do to get started is in the book, I talk about having two pillars, one for success and one for happiness. And really the one for happiness really is to really learn how to love ourselves, to become our own best friend. Okay? It's hard we have to accept all the things we don't like about ourselves, okay? But we have to realize that we're with ourselves for the rest of our lives. So the question, how do we become our own best friends? And the way we do that is we start by becoming leaders of ourselves, okay? We have to really care about others. Okay? It's not just about me. How do we reach out and touch in friendships? Life's about authentic relationships and how we create them. In business, it's about caring about customers. So it's really about how do we focus and build ourselves. When we're young and we're looking to meet a partner or a soulmate, okay, we have to fill our own soul with our own love, and then it pours over. We can't look for our answers inside somebody else. Our answers are inside ourselves. We have to explore that.
Yeah, that's incredible advice right there. And there's a couple of things I want to follow up on right there as well. I think that a lot of people my age and even younger, because a lot of people constantly feel like they're living in a crisis, maybe it's because of the news or maybe it's just because family or home or something like that. I think it's important that we kind of even maybe define what crisis necessarily is, or if it's just maybe they're just under periods of stress. So I'm curious, how would you kind of define what a crisis is so people can become aware of if they're actually in a crisis or maybe they're just not focused on the things they need to be focused on?
Well, there is no one right answer to what is a crisis, because what's crisis to me might not be to you. But
Yeah.
I guess for me, the real issue is that when there's something I have no control over, that's, I won't say existential, but would be significantly change my life or someone who I love. Okay? And, I've learned that it continually happens. It's happened to me all the time. And the real essence is, how do I stay in the present? So I guess one of the greatest lessons that I've been able to learn is that when crisis happens, I get very focused. I look at the outcome of what I want, and I say to myself, is every decision getting me closer or further away from the outcome? So many people don't look at what the criteria is for decisions. They just make decisions. If we really focus on what the criteria is for a decision, the answer becomes more evident. So for me, a crisis happens is when I lose control of where things are going, how they're happening, and how do I refocus on what I can affect.
I got you. There's a lot of people out there that they're going to hear that. And I think that some people need to really take a moment to kind of pause and ask yourself, if you feel like you're in a situation of a crisis, like Richard said, are you truly in a crisis? Because is it something you truly can't control? Or is it something that maybe you do actually have control over, but just haven't been taking the steps you need to actually get out of it?
Well, I don't think it matters if it's a crisis or not. Okay. So it's not a matter of definition. The real issue is there are small crises, a big crisis, and there's other opportunities. But, we all need to guide our own lives. Like a sailboat in the ocean, if we don't put a rudder in, it's going to blow us wherever it goes. In life, if we don't make decisions, if we can't look far enough out to the outcomes we want, okay, then we'll never get there.
Yeah. Decisions are one thing that a lot of people struggle with, because I think a lot of people immediately when they're making a decision, they're not thinking about what's best for them, but they're thinking about maybe how other people might think about them. Is this in alignment with what, my image is? How would you recommend people to kind of start to take control over their own decisions and actually make better ones?
I guess the first step, really, if I go back a little bit, is to separate our own self-worth from our achievements. So many people measure themselves by what they achieve and what other people think of them. So many people build businesses and sell it, and then they're unhappy. Okay, so you really have to, just separate that. We're all God's miracle. We're all good inside. Even the people you don't like a lot, they have some goodness in them. So we have to love ourselves, okay, and realize, accept ourselves, and just move forward from there.
I love that right there. Richard, I've also heard you say that mindset is what carried you through everything, even more than money, strategy, or luck. Can you walk us through how someone can begin building that kind of mental strength right now when things might feel heavy or just uncertain in their own life?
Yeah. Well, it's hard to do in a sentence or two. I mean, I think if you talk about our book, Turning Crisis into Success, which I wrote with my daughter, Charlie, okay, and when I would tell her about each of the first two businesses I started, struggled, took public and sold, okay, she would say, Dad, don't tell me what happened, what you think, what you feel, what you say. So the book is a series of crises, okay, where I share how I thought, what I did, and things like that. So that's a longer issue. But in short, the real issue is, I mean, I accept things I can't change. I had a really tough time. I had foreclosure notices, personal guarantees being called in 1990. And my friend said, how can you stand this? Okay, you could lose everything. And I said, you know what? If I lose everything, as long as I have my health and my family, I can rebuild it. Okay, I had the confidence to rebuild. I don't want to, okay? But it's just that belief in yourself and understanding that things happening to me were happening for a reason, and I had to figure out how to get out of it. And I did. Okay, I got lucky. And, it's interesting. After we finished writing the book, Charlie and I got interviewed, and the interviewer said to Charlie, who was, I think, 27 at the time, something like that, 25, 27, said, you're very close to your father. What did you learn writing the book for 4 years that you didn't know before you wrote the book? And she said, my friends and I all think we have to prove how smart we are. And in essence, when I look at my father, every crisis he got out of, he asked for help. And asking for help is a strength. It's not a weakness. When you ask for help, people want to help. Instead of having one or two choices, we have 5 or 6 choices. So one of the things for young people, especially for all of us felt, is asking for help. Let other people help us. That's really one way to get out of crisis. I didn't know I was doing that at the time, so I can't tell you I knew. But when I look back and reflect on all the crises I went through, somebody or people helped me. I reached out to people, okay, and they helped me. And that's why I try and reach out and help other people too. Yeah.
That's incredible right there, because networking, friendships, and stuff like that is a lot of things that people forget about, especially in entrepreneurship, because the sole focus for so many can just purely be on that definition of success that they've created, whether that could be a certain amount of money or maybe a certain house or maybe living in a certain area. And a lot of the times when they're chasing that, to the detriment can come the friendships, the relationships, the networking. And I think a lot of people forget about that because, like you just said, you need to ask for help. I mean, you can't do everything alone. And I've personally been in that boat for many times before where I've tried doing everything alone. And even something as simple as I create something that I think is going to work and then I put it out there. And then the people that I think are going to want it actually don't want it. That's just something as simple as I could have just asked. I could have asked people, do they even want what I'm going to put out there? And that's a mindset shift right there that I think a lot of people need to kind of think about. Richard, I'm curious, what are your thoughts on that about just how can people who maybe just never ask for help, or maybe they're just scared, or maybe they're just, their identity just doesn't allow it, how can they maybe start to go inwards and kind of think about that in a different way?
Just being aware of it. Okay. Change. The first thing you change is awareness. Second is attention. Okay. Third is effort. Okay. So I think the real issues in one of the cases where I had big problems in my second business, I picked up the phone and called somebody I never knew. Okay. It was through YPO Young Presidents Organization. So there was a connection, but I called somebody in Malaysia who never knew and asked for help. And ultimately he asked somebody else to help me and it worked out. So I think, it's hard to have self-confidence. It's hard to believe in ourselves. Okay. When we love ourselves, it's easier to have confidence. So, don't care as much what other people think, and do the right thing. It's interesting. I have a set of 5 values I live by, both in business and in work. Okay. And I think it's important for people to establish what are your values, their own values. Okay. My values are, first is to exceed customer expectation. Okay, whether that's my wife, my kids, the customers in business. Okay, I always try and exceed customer expectation. The second and the most difficult is to live up to all commitments. Okay, in business, if you live up to commitments, people will follow you. They'll take you wherever they go. When I would promise my daughter, 8-year-old daughter, I'd go to a soccer game and I had problems at work, she didn't care. I made a commitment. I had to be there. Second one is live up to all commitments. Third is to be the best. Don't compare myself to competition. Don't compare myself to history. Compare myself to the opportunity. Raise the bar on myself. The fourth one is to do the right thing. When we're alone and we have decisions to make, we have a gut instinct that tells us right from wrong. We don't always follow it because doing the right thing is not always in our own best interest. But if we continue to do the right thing, okay, everybody around us gets ahead. And fifth, and probably most importantly, is to treat everybody with care and respect. Nobody, you don't yell at people. With a janitor or the president of a company, everybody's equal. We have to treat everybody equal. And those are my values. I'm not saying they're right. You see companies have values. So as an individual, what are your values? What do you want to live by? Okay. And see where you go.
I love that. Values are so important. Like I mean, when I got clear on my values, it changed everything for me because I realized that gives you a kind of guideline on how to actually live life. And if your values are in alignment with who you actually are as a person, things just feel better. You just feel like a better person and things start to happen. So I really encourage everyone to really take what Richard just said right there and kind of, maybe if you've never thought about values before, to kind of start getting clear on, what do you really want out of life? Who are you really? And, throw everything away about how other people think about you. What do you want? And get clear on that real inner image of yourself.
Values are like guide rails on a highway. Okay, life is going so fast. We have so much being thrown at us. People are pulling us in different directions. So our values can help keep us on the highway to our success.
Yeah, and I think that for people who do maybe have some values, but what about if somebody is struggling to actually live by their values? Like they've got them actually down, but they're just struggling. Like let's say one of their values is to, I don't know, maybe just do good or something like that, or give away, and they're just like having a hard time actually following through with their values. I'm curious what you would recommend somebody to do in that situation.
Well, firstly, we all struggle with our values. We don't create values and live that way. So don't feel you're alone if you struggle with your values. Okay, but values are a guideline. They help us. Okay, they don't drive us. I think, again, I'll keep going back to the same thing, but falling in love with ourselves, being our own best friend, having our own self-confidence, not worry what other people think about us, but what we think about ourselves. Those having that confidence allows us to make good choices and live by our values. It's hard and it doesn't change. And when you marry somebody who has different values, that's really hard too. Okay? So the real issue is, how do you know who you are? And as we get older, from 20s to 30s to 40s, we become more ingrained in who we are. But by having your own values, you grow into who you want to be, okay, not who other people want you to be.
I love that right there. I love that so much. And Richard, you've said it a couple of times about falling in love with yourself. I think there's some people here that might be hearing that and they might not entirely understand what you mean by that. So I'm curious, could you kind of walk us through exactly maybe what it took for you to finally figure out, how could you love yourself, and maybe even the awareness that maybe you didn't love yourself at one point?
Well, I got lucky in the sense that when I was in my mid-20s, I had a girl break my heart, okay? And that was before cell phones. And I kind of say I was ghosted because I tried and call her at her house and nobody would answer. So I ended up starting writing poetry. I wrote her some poems, and I kept writing poems. And I've written poems, now for 40 years, okay? And the poetry allowed me to express, okay, how I felt. So, and I loved how I felt. Though I was writing it to her, I was writing it from me. So the real issue is, find a way to get in touch with yourself. Okay, that was my release. Some people paint, but find a way to express your inner soul. That's something that's important. It's balance is so hard in life. Okay, of course, find things that you like to do, find people you love to do with it, and just keep doing it.
That's incredible advice right there, and even touching upon the soul and finding a way to express your soul. I think that that's something that a lot of people can pause and kind of actually reflect on and maybe kind of figure out, how are you expressing your soul? If you are even expressing your soul, or if you're holding it back. I mean, I can't tell you the amount of times that I was doing stuff that was in alignment with what I thought I wanted, but was at a detriment to what my soul actually wanted and what I actually wanted out of life. And it was creating so much friction, so many problems, so many, I wouldn't say destructing behaviors, but I was definitely not allocating energy to the things that I needed to be, such as relationships, such as loving others, such as connections and stuff like that. So Richard, I want to ask you, when you're thinking about expressing your own soul, poetry is one of those things. What are some other ways that you feel in alignment, that you're expressing your true inner desires?
Well, one thing is expressing, another is feeling. So when I get into crisis, the two things I did when I was in the deepest crisis, okay, one is I meditate. So I've been meditating for 53 years now. So, I mean, meditation brings me back. It shuts out what's before and what's after, okay? And it allows me to stay in the present. So that's one way that really helped me. Also, when I was in deep trouble, business-wise, financially, I lived in Del Mar, California. I would run on the beach every day. And when I ran on the beach, I would see the waves crash in the ocean. And I'd tell myself, look, I'll do the best I can today, but if I can get up tomorrow and see the waves crash, that's success. So the issue really is, pick small goals, okay? Take one step at a time in order to help it. That's really the way that, for me, that I was able to get through some of the crisis, okay? And running, meditating, okay? Those are ways, connecting with friends, non-judgmental ways of it. Not talking about achievement, but talking about, relationships, okay? And, writing really helped me. So that was really the core of it.
I love that right there. There's so many good, tangible things that you just said that people can do. And one thing you just mentioned there was, what does success look like for you? I'm curious, what does success look like for you now?
Well, a success for me, I love pleasing customers. I mean, that's a goal to me. So I love just helping others to see their way to learn. So after my first two businesses I started, took public and sold, I've become a mentor. So I mentor startup entrepreneurs. So I love asking questions for other people to learn what to do. So to me, that's a big deal. But I think, as I look at it, I speak to MBA students sometimes about 7 ingredients to happiness and success. Okay. So I'll share them with you. The first one really is controlling our thoughts. Okay. How do we control our thoughts? Not everybody can do that, but the real issue is whatever we plant in our mind grows. Our mind's like a fertile garden. If we put in negative thoughts, they grow. If we put in positive thoughts, they grow. The negative thoughts come in, we pick the weeds. You get rid of them. But how do we try and control our thoughts? That's really, and this is both for success and happiness. Second is persistence. Okay, persistence is that breakfast of champions. We don't give up. Okay, we just keep pushing on. While we were writing the book, my daughter Charlie asked me, Dad, when do you know when to persist and when to pivot? I said, wow, that's a really good question. I don't know. But I tell you one thing, I never stop persisting. I might persist in a different way. I might ask the same question 4 or 5 different ways. But persistence is, and you do it nicely, you don't insult somebody, but persistence is a key to success in life. Third is connecting heart to heart, okay? Customers buy from people they like. So you have to create it. The best salespeople represented their customers, not the business. They connected heart to heart. And that's important both in happiness and success. The fourth thing is do today what feels good tomorrow. This is really important. So many people want immediate gratification. They think about what's going to make me happy today. But when we build our life around doing things that make us feel good tomorrow, it builds up. Pleasure is what happens good today. Happiness is what you create in the future. And you do that by what the steps you take. Fifth is the way you look at the outcome and work your way back. I mentioned that earlier. So whatever you want to achieve in business and in life and in relationships, see the outcome. It's like building a house. You don't build a house a room at a time, right? You design the entire thing, then build it. So same thing here. See the outcome, work your way back, and then decide, are the decisions I'm making, the things I'm doing, help me get to where I want to go, or is it just distracting on a different highway? Okay? The sixth one is to find a passion and follow it. And that's really hard. I ask a lot of times from young people, how do I find a passion? And there's no right answer. But what I tell them is, if you can't find something you're passionate about, then find a CEO, a business that has your values, okay, who are passionate, and go follow them. Because around them will be other passionate people. And those passionate people will leave and go start their own thing. And they'll take you with them if you can share their same passions. And then the final one is leave a legacy. Don't wait till the end of your life to look back and say, okay, here's a legacy I left. So, start when you're younger and say, here's the kind of legacy I want to be remembered for when I'm older, when I'm left this world. What do I want to really be remembered for? Okay, there's a great line or something like that. That's, that the importance is the dash between, on the gravestone, it's the dash between the birth and the death. It's what you create by the time you're born. That's what's important. So don't let somebody do it for you. Figure out what legacy you want, okay, and go create it.
Wow, you just dropped absolute gold right there. That's like a literally $1 million nugget right there. Those 7 steps. Richard, I'm curious, for somebody who just heard that and they're like, all of this sounds amazing. What would you recommend them to do for step 1 in order to put those things into practice? What would you say should be like step number 1 out of all of those things for them to actually start putting it in play?
Well, don't laugh, okay, but they should read our book, okay? Because that will model, they'll see how I did it in different situations. So I don't say specifically, step by step, but they'll see that. The second thing is just, start by seeing the outcome and working their way back, okay? Create your own future. Okay, the other thing I'll tell you is there's a great book that really helped me called Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill. Okay, I was desperate. I was about ready to go broke in my second business. Okay, I saw an infomercial from Fran Tarkenton, the famous quarterback. And anyway, I picked the book up, read it, and they tell you how to write an affirmation and repeat it every day. So you're creating in the future. And I did that. Okay, and I was so crazy at the time, I put a little dot on my watch, and every time I looked at my watch during the day, I said my affirmations. And I truly think that really helped me achieve what I had.
That incredible, Richard.
Excuse me.
No worries. And then there's one other thing I wanted to touch upon there, because Like you said, if somebody doesn't know what their passion is, or maybe they're just not getting awareness of it, to go and follow CEOs or find people who are in alignment with your values and follow them. And I think a lot of people, when they think about that, is they think that the most they can do is maybe just follow that person. And what I mean by that is a lot of people don't actually do the reach out, or a lot of people don't necessarily even think that they're worthy to be reaching out to, like, let's say a CEO, or they're scared to get in the rooms. For people who want to make some changes and they really want to figure out what they want to do, but they just kind of don't have the confidence, how would you recommend somebody to start to develop the confidence in order to actually pursue some of these things?
Okay. Well, it keeps going back to they got to fall in love with themselves. They got to like who they are. If they don't like who they are, people around them aren't going to like them either. Okay. But you don't have to go see a CEO. You can get a job, an entry level job. You can get a manager job somewhere in a company that has your values. Okay. And build upon that. You don't have to start at the top there. And you can't be afraid. Okay. Of failure. Failure is when you get knocked down, don't get up. Defeat's when you get knocked down, you get up. But every time I got knocked down a lot of times. Okay, I almost went broke a lot of times. I never gave up. Persistence. Okay, but I was lucky enough to surround myself with really good people. Okay, motivate them to they saw the vision. Okay, and they all got passionate and they raised the boat. Together.
Hmm.
So it's not easy. And I'll tell you, it's not easy to find a passion. Some people are lucky. They want to be a doctor. They want to do this or that. Okay. Most of us don't. Okay. And life is really about who you meet. It's random. Okay. I mean, you take a look at all these stories that you'll hear people where they started these unbelievable businesses through coincidence. Okay. So you just have to keep your eyes open. You have to, network. You have to create authentic relationships, and people will call you and take you where you want to go. But it's belief in yourself is where you start.
Hmm.
And that's not easy.
Oh yeah, no, not at all. I talk a lot about an equation that I created for luck, and I think it's really applicable to the stuff that you just talked about, which is preparation plus positioning equals opportunity, and that opportunity is where so-called luck comes into play. And I think a lot of people, what they can do right now is to really kind of prepare themselves and try and position themselves so that way that when opportunity does come knocking on their door, then they're ready to actually answer it. And there's a couple different ways that I think people can actually put that into play. Richard, I'm curious for you, what does opportunity, like, how do you spot opportunity, like, yourself?
That's not a fair question because I happen to be very lucky. People ask me what I do, and I say I'm trying to stay out of the way of opportunity. I'm just not good at it. So I think the real issue is that we just need to be open. Just because we think something doesn't mean we're right. Okay? So many people, so many young people I mentor, I have to ask them the same question. Do you want to be successful or do you want to be right? And everybody answers, I want to be successful. And then my answer is always with them, why do you keep acting like you want to be right? So ask yourself that question. It's not about being right, okay? In negotiations, okay, I always say the key to negotiations is getting what I want their way. You have to let people win. You have to let them believe they win. So the real issue is, you have to just, it just goes back to self-confidence. That's not easy, okay? If you don't think about if you don't, not care, but if you don't care as much about what other people think about you as what you think about yourself, if you do the right thing over and over and over, then you have to have confidence in yourself that it'll work out. And when things don't, it happens for a reason. There are other lessons to be learned.
Hmm. No, absolutely. And I think that people putting themselves in those positions, step number one, can be very difficult. But I'll share kind of like what I did actually to put myself into positions to where I've gotten to where I'm at. Is I literally went on social media, found 20 people that I love and that, are living the lifestyle and, doing the things in life that I want to do. And I messaged them and I literally said, hey, I don't know what I can do for you yet, but I want to help save you time and make you money. Is there any chance that I can get in a position to help you out? And I didn't hear back from 19 of them, but I heard back from one. And that one literally led me into, opened up doors for me that completely transformed my life. And I think a lot of people right there, they hear that and they might say I'm lucky. But I think like when I was going back to what I was talking about preparation and positioning, I put myself in the position for that opportunity to be in a play. I prepared so that way that I can, was confident enough in myself and was okay with myself to get told no 19 times or to not hear back 19 times. And I think a lot of people, when they're hearing what you're saying, Richard, I think a lot of people need to take a chance on themselves. They really need to figure out a way, like if there's something they really want and their soul is calling them to somewhere and they're just too scared to actually take that step, just take that freaking step. Just take that
what
step.
you said goes back to asking for help. Okay? When we start out as a young person, we don't have the resources, the network, the dollars, the connections. Okay? But as you grow, you build them. And, you've got to ask people for help. And the interesting thing is I do a lot of fundraising. I raise money. My wife and I help build the San Diego Chush Academy in San Diego. I raise a lot of money. But when I raise money, I tell people, I'm not asking you for money. I'm giving you an opportunity to create and help others, young people. And so when you're starting out in the business, okay, you're giving people an opportunity to help you. You're not taking from them and asking from them. They don't have to help you. You're giving them an opportunity to make a difference in someone's life. Now, if they care about you, you have a lot better chance, okay? But sometimes strangers just pick up and say, I'll help. So, again, self-love, build your self-confidence, ask for help, okay? Persist. Don't give up. I tell all our salespeople that no is the first step of any sale. When a customer says no, okay, that means you haven't overcome their objections. If they say yes right away, you're just taking an order. So the real key is, how do you overcome their objections? And what's funny is that when the kids were growing up, okay, I would tell them, okay, if they get a no, they should say, what's your objection? So when they were teenagers, they would say to my wife, okay, I can't go to a party. What's your objection? So she'd say, get out of here. Go ask your father. Don't ask me that question. But that's a real key. A real key is, when you can't get what you want from somebody, they have an objection. You haven't overcome it. Okay. Once you overcome it, they'll give you all their money. They'll give you what you want, things like that. So no is an opportunity, okay, to go please somebody, and you just haven't figured out yet how.
That's incredible. That's incredible advice right there. No is just an opportunity. And
it's the first step.
Yeah, it's the first step.
It's the first step.
And a lot of people, once they get that no, they'll pivot and they'll be like, okay, this
close
is
the door.
Right here.
Right.
Yeah, they'll
right.
immediately close the door.
But Joe, that's where persistence comes in. Okay. So now you don't keep repeating the same way. That's where I say the persistence is. So you ask it a little differently. Okay. You figure out, it's a puzzle. It's a game. How do you get in there? Okay. But in the end, okay, when you do get what you want, people will thank you. Okay. They want you to help them get what you want.
I love that. And it's so amazing, because when you start with the mindset of truly wanting to help other people, it becomes almost like a lot of people, when they hear a no, they'll pivot and they'll try finding someone else or a qualified lead. But if you actually are truly caring about the transformation of who you're trying to help, it becomes like, no, I need to help this person because I know that what I'm offering is actually going to help them. And I think a lot of people look at it from the angle of just viewing people as dollar signs instead of viewing people as like actual people, like what I'm doing could actually transform this person's life. And I encourage people to really, if you're in the mindset of just making the dollars, like, just know you're leaving money on the table because you're not treating people as people.
Well, come back for a second. Okay, you want to talk business-wise, okay? Creating dollars is a matter of creating value for your customers, okay? My father had a great line when I was very young and started my first business. And he said, and I used to play basketball in college. As you mentioned, I'm a part of the Phoenix Suns. He said, building a championship business is like building a championship basketball team. If you stand at half court and look at the score doesn't go up. If you focus on putting the ball in the basket, the score goes up by itself. So don't look at the dollars you're creating. How do you find out what the customer wants and give it to them? Wayne Gretzky had a great line. Wayne Gretzky was probably the greatest hockey player ever lived. And in the locker room after a game, one of the sports writers said, Wayne, you're not very big. You don't skate very fast. You don't have a hard slot shot. How are you the greatest hockey player ever lived? He said in his modest way, I don't know. I just skate to where the puck is going to be. So let me repeat that. I just skate to where the puck is going to be. And that is the secret in business, is see what your customers are going to want in the future and give it to them before they know it. Okay? Skate to where the puck is going to be. And that's really important. pillar.
Incredible right there. Skate to where the customer is going to be.
Yeah.
Richard, I want to pivot here for a second. That was incredible advice, but I want to talk about ego because I think ego can
Okay.
prevent a lot of these things that we've been talking about from actually coming into play and could really hurt people. So you've seen how it can help or hurt a business or people personally. What's your take on managing ego, especially when someone is just starting to build something meaningful, whether it be personally or professionally?
Ego can be positive as well. Okay, ego can drive us into persistence and things like that. So, ego is good to want to be the best. Just don't think you're better than anybody else. Okay, that's the real key. It's easier to control our own ego if we have our values, if we see what we want to build in the future. It's harder when we deal with other people who have big egos, okay, who demand things, who think because they have more money, they can treat you a certain way. I mean, so I think, Joe, it goes back to the values we have, okay? And do you want to be right or do you want to be successful? There's a saying that just because we think it doesn't mean it's correct. We often think of something, we think we're right. Well, not all the time. We're not right all the time. So just to be open, okay, to take a look at the outcome where we're going. If somebody is harsh or ego-driven, you got to figure out, how do I deal with them? How do I give them what they want so they give me what I want? That's why I used to tell our salespeople, pretend the customer has my money. Give them what they want, and they'll give me all the money back. Okay? Just give them what they want. So that's how you deal with big egos, is you figure out how to give them what they want and then get what you want.
I love that right there because you said something along the lines of you try and become the best, but don't think you're better than anyone else.
Sure.
And
We're all equal.
that combines something that mutual friend David Meltzer says: be more interested than interesting. And I think that when you combine those kind of mindsets right there, you give yourself a real opportunity to really do some great things. Because so many people will start with the mindset, or they'll try and build confidence by imagining that they're better than everyone else, and that can lead them to destroying the little relationships that can actually help them get to like where they truly want to go. And I love that mindset of really try and work to become the best at what you want to do, but never think you're better than anyone else. Because one of the values you said, I think it was the seventh one, about treat everybody with kindness. Like everybody, doesn't matter what your position is. If you're the top of a company, you're the bottom, everybody is a human being and everybody has something they could offer. I mean, I've walked into restaurants and talked to people, or even at grocery stores talked to people, and they've told me things that completely transform the way I think. Or sometimes people will just smile at me, and sometimes they can literally make my day. Or sometimes you could smile make someone's day. Yeah. And I love that because I see so many people my age right now, especially, they'll walk into rooms and think that they own it, and they'll treat everyone else as if like they are lesser than them. And it is, that energy is it's so visible. You can feel it. And some people don't even know they're giving it off. So I'm curious, Richard, for somebody who maybe they're like, okay, wait, I'm rethinking this because I might be that person. What would you recommend them to do to kind of step back and kind of, not be such an egotistical person?
First, let me say, your buddy David Meltzer there is one of my favorite people in the whole world. He and I have very much similar values, okay? But to answer your question there is I think there's a universal law, okay? It's called giver's gain. And giver's gain says we give one place unconditionally, and it comes back somewhere else. So we don't give so we get something back. We give because we want to give, but it's the right thing to do. And by doing that over and over, okay, it comes back in other ways. I think we've given philanthropy, we've given help, assistance, things like that, advice, and we give in one place, and we've been very fortunate with our health, with our wealth, with everything. So it's just the mindset. So if people, especially starting out young, is givers can give, okay, without expecting in return. Don't say, here it is, I'm going to stop giving because they didn't give it back to me. It'll come from somewhere else. It's just that lesson, it's that energy, it's that soul of giving. That's why we're here on earth, okay, to help others. So I think that's where it could start.
Yeah, I love that. And I'll share one tangible thing that people can do right now to give. If you're at a grocery store and you're at the checkout line and the person is starting to check out your food, and most people just say, hey, how you doing? And that'll be the end of it. People will say good, and that's kind of the end. One thing I try and do is every single time I'm out, whether it be fast food or a restaurant, is when I talk to somebody, I'll look them in the eye and I'll say, hey, how you doing today? And, if they say good or bad, I'll follow up on that. and I'll try and do something to really kind of acknowledge that they are a human being, and I like genuinely am interested in what they have, how their day is going, and I see them. And the thing that a lot of people don't think about there is when a lot of people don't feel seen, and when you see somebody, it can inspire them to actually see other people then, and you could be spreading that kindness, you could be spreading that kind of energy, and just by even saying thank you and really showing appreciation to people, letting them know that you appreciate them, that can really fuel them up. And that's something you could give to them. And a lot of people
Well,
don't
that's a
think
big
about
deal right
that.
there. I mean, saying thank you for your service, thank you for being here, thank you for helping. Okay, all those things. But what that's doing is that's creating an authentic relationship. That's
Hmm.
caring. Okay, and that's what I'm saying. Caring about others is really important, and expressing it and showing it. Okay. Now you might do that in the middle of New York City, and somebody thinks you're crazy. Okay,
Yeah.
but so yeah, I mean, you have to do it to a certain degree, know where you are, and know your environment. Okay, but really, I think acknowledging, thanking is important,
Hmm.
and it's not just for the other person. Okay, it makes us feel good.
Yeah.
Expressing, so it goes back to one of the other things is expressing gratitude. Okay, gratitude is a exercise that fuels the soul. Okay, it helps us being thankful for what we are, being grateful for what we are. Everybody has something to be grateful for. Okay, so don't look at what you don't have, look what you do have. And I mean, that's a gratitude practice every day. Say thank you for something in my life. And that
Hmm.
builds on my own self-love.
Yeah. I love that right there. I know there's people that, because I've been in the situation before where they're trying to pivot, they're trying to actually start, living the life that they really want to live, and they're taking a look at their friends, they're taking a look at their family. Maybe they realize that the people they're surrounded by aren't actually, pushing them on, or maybe they're not the right people to help them get to the next level. And that could be, that was so difficult for me. And I know that's so difficult for so many other people. What would you recommend them to do to kind of maybe take the first step or just shift in order to change that?
That's a hard question. Okay. We pick our friends, but not our family. Okay.
Hmm.
And every family has their own dysfunction. They have somebody in it. So I think it goes back to just building the confidence, self-confidence oneself. I mean, look, when you're young, we take risks, risk reward. Sometimes you fall down, sometimes you keep going. So it's really, I don't have an answer. If you're surrounded by people who don't have the same values, who don't want the same things, it's kind of like if you have a plate full of crabs, one tries to get out, they all bring them back in. They pull them back in again. It's hard to get away. But at some point, when you believe in yourself enough and you're willing to go out there and expose yourself and not judge yourself, you do it. You take a chance. Okay, some people are risk averse. They'd rather stay where they are and not take a chance, and that's okay too. That's their nature. Okay, I like change because I think with change comes opportunity. Things are changing. Some people don't like change, so it depends on. It's not right or wrong. It's just you know who you are, and maybe you try a change and you're not happy with it, then you go back. But if you don't try it, you'll never know.
Mm. I love that, because it's okay if you're risk adverse, or if you like taking risks, don't like taking risks, that's okay. And I think somebody that's listening around needed to hear that, because it's so easy to get caught up in social media of seeing how everyone else is living, and thinking people you need to follow that same exact route, and this is what success looks like, etc. And I think it's important for people to know that it can be okay sometimes. If that's not the lifestyle for you, that's all right. Just get clear on what it is that you want, and get clear on your own values, and get clear on if the people around you, if the things that you're doing are in alignment with what you truly want out of life. And I want to share something I always recommend people to do is I think a lot about, when I say start with the end in mind, I really start with the end. I think about my funeral. I think about, the people who are going to be at my funeral, friends, family, and I'm thinking about what are they going to say about me. I'm not talking about what are they going to say, like I have a lot of money, I made a lot of business success or something like that. What are they going to say about me? Are they going to say that I've been a person who reached out when they're at dark, like low times? Or are they going to say I'm somebody who truly cared and put effort into the relationships and made them feel seen or heard? And when I did that, when I do that, I try doing that every day, thinking about that. That really puts into clarity my own values. Like, what do I truly care about? Because then right there, I can say, hey, I care about relationships a lot more than I thought. So that means relationships need to be a value, my core value. I need to make sure I'm nurturing them, letting people know I see them, care about them, love them. And I just think that it's really, really, that's probably one of the most powerful exercises I've discovered to discover your values. But I'm curious for you, Richard, is there anything you would add on to that?
Well, I would reframe it a little bit and not ask myself, what are they going to say about me, but rather, what would I like them to say about me?
Yeah.
Okay. So if you say, here's what they would say today, and here's what I'd like them to say, then the delta there are the things you have to work on,
Yep.
right? So it really is creating, I have a line at work. I say, create the future, don't just change the present. So, companies that change the present grow 5, 10%. Companies that create the future can grow 50%, or more, 100%. So the issue in our own lives, okay, don't take what you have today and make it incrementally a little better. Okay, take away all of the obstacles that you think you have and create the future of where you want to be. And then just live into it. See yourself. That's what Think and Grow Rich talks about. Is see the future you want, repeat it daily, okay, and live into it. And that's creating the future.
I'm happy I asked you that follow-up question right there because it is so true. Once you see the future that you're on right now, you can ask yourself, are you in trajectory to actually get to that future? And that'll reveal the things that you need to change. And right there, you'll get clear on your values. And right there, you also get clear on, okay, maybe there's some things I need to start doing different because I'm not in alignment with where I want to go. So I think that's so important right there because I think that, I think one of the biggest things that people can take away from the episode so far is you have all the tools right here to build guardrails for your life and guidelines for your life to actually start to go in the direction you want to go. And I encourage people to kind of reflect on this episode and reflect on what Richard has said and all the nuggets that he's dropped today, and not just go on and listen to another episode or a podcast, but to actually take some time to think about what we've talked about and to start getting clear on and in alignment with where you want to go and who you want to be. But Richard, I want to ask you something business-wise as well, because you have more experience than anyone in regards to this. What's something you wish everyone would understand about business that they usually learn too late, or maybe you yourself learned pretty late?
Uh, several things, but I think business always starts from the customer and works way back. So my executives ask me what I think about a market, and I say, don't ask me, go ask the customer. It doesn't make a difference what I think. Okay, so I think the real essence in building a business is to find a need and fill it. I believe we always get rewarded in direct proportion to the needs we fill. If you fill a little need, you get rewarded small, big need. So the real question is, how do you find those needs? So what do you need? What do your friends and family need? What's changing? I was very lucky in both my businesses in that they were governmental changes. Now remember, change is difficult and change is expensive. I can't even change which side of my face I shave first, which shoe I put on first. We all have habits, okay? But changing is difficult, okay? So we really, really want to ask ourselves, what does a customer want today? What are they going to want in the future? So that's the first step. And then the second step is to surround yourself with people who love you, care about you, who you want to go. Life is too short, okay, to work without people you don't love and it's something you don't like. Some people have to do that. I'm not saying you can't. When you get stuck in that, the question is, how do you create an environment for yourself and accept it and move on? So it's hard. There's no right answer. But I would tell you, if I look back on the business, I said the government regulations in the first business was a frozen juice bar Italian ices business. Okay, we had $1 million of business, and the USDA banned junk foods in schools. Coke, potato chips, Italian ices. And we had to either go out of business, start all over again. So there was a need there. So we filled that with a juice bar. Okay, in the latex glove, the USDA came out and said in the late 80s, because of the AIDS, healthcare workers needed to wear gloves, masks, and gowns 10 hours a day instead of 10 minutes a day. So we created a glove to protect the healthcare worker from the glove itself. So the issues, I had behavior changing, and I took advantage of that. So look around and find out what behavior is changing. We didn't have social media when I grew up, okay? So the issue is it's different today on how you get your information, what's out there. But my answer to you in business is find a need and fill it, and then find a team that can help support you. There's no I in team, okay? It's not about me. It's I've always found that I'm best leading from behind, okay? So I would encourage, I'd ask questions, even if I had the right answer, I try and ask a question where it became my executive's decision on what to do. So things like that.
Absolute gold right there, Richard. I want to be respectful of your time, so I want to end here with a question that I think a lot of people think about, which is, you've written books, shared poetry, open your heart, but I'm curious, what does legacy mean to you now? And what do you hope people remember after this conversation?
Well, I mean, I've been married 40 years. I'd like people to think, my wife think I'm a great husband. My kids think I'm a great father. Okay. I mean, it's really the personal, but it's, again, my wife and I helped build a San Diego Nutrition Academy campus. So we have people. So I want people to think that I've done the right thing. I've helped others. Okay. I've shared my soul, okay, with people and helped others. It's funny, the first 60, 65 years, I built knowledge, wisdom, financial security. And the next 20, 30 years, I want to give it all away. Okay, so how do I give away what I've learned? How do I give away what I've made? What do I give away? It's about giving. It's not what we have in life, but it's what we share. Okay, so I bring people out to play golf at my golf club. I got a son skiing. People get so excited, but I love sharing because I love creating experiences for other people. That's for me. So I hope they would say that he shared his heart, he shared his soul, and he gave back to this world more than he took.
That's incredible right there. And Richard, how can my listeners and the audience give back to you? Where can they find you at? How can they support you and get involved in what you have going on?
Yeah, well, firstly, I thank you for asking. Okay, I'm here to support them. Allow me to help. Okay, so I do think by reading the book. Here's the book, Think and Grow Rich. Okay, my daughter Charlie's a great writer. It's a page turner. It's not a how-to, but it's experiential. You'll learn from that. I have a website, richardjaffe.net. RICHARDJAF as in Frank, F as in Frank, E.net. It has lots of my poems on it, okay? So just share. I just want to share. I don't need anything back. I'm not asking for anything. If they want a poetry book, they need to contact you because I'll email it. It's not on Amazon. The other one's on Amazon, Kindle. I actually recite it in Audible. But allow me to help you grow your soul. It's funny. My wife and I went to a speaker, a rabbi, early in our relationship. And at the end of his talk, someone got up and said, Rabbi, how do you grow your soul? Okay, so what's the purpose of life? And he says, the purpose of life is to grow your soul. But how I grow my soul is different how you grow your soul or somebody else. So the real question I'll have is to everybody out there, how do you grow your soul? What do you need to do to become your own best friend, to love yourself, okay, to give unconditionally? Those are the ways that we get ahead in life. That's happiness. Albert Schweitzer, the Nobel laureate, said, success does not create happiness. Happiness creates success. So that's really the target. It's a challenge to find balance, okay, between family, kids, business, etc. But you're no different than anybody else. Everybody's got that challenge, okay? And then go back to the issue of crisis is going to happen. How do you deal with it? How do you befriend it? How do you not be surprised by it? How do you accept the things you can't change and move on? So people can help me by helping themselves, making this world, a better place, one person at a time.
Mic drop moment right there. And for everyone listening, email me, email Richard to let us know how what we've talked about today has actually helped you in your life and just how it's transforming your life, because that's one of my favorite things, because that right there is confirmation that what we talked about is truly helping people. So let us know. Let us know how this conversation helped you in your own life, business-wise and personally.
That is great, because both the book, the website, richardjaffe.net, as well as the website for the book, crisisintosuccess.com, both have a place where you can email us. And I would love to hear back what you like best about the book and what you would have liked to have heard more. Those are two things that can help me.
Awesome. And everything will be in the show notes. So everyone listening right now, you can go down below, scroll down to the show notes, and you'll be able to find all of Richard's information and the books, which I highly encourage you to please check out, because like Richard said, it's not a how-to, but it's going to give you insight and experiences into how to put a lot of this stuff into practice. And who's better mind to pick other than Richard Jaffe? So
No, thank you very much.
Yes,
it's been a pleasure. Good luck to everybody out